Yeah, okay. So now we have reached the last lesson in the last section that's going to be included in the exam. It's about the Enlightenment in Europe. It is section number 2 in chapter 21, sorry, in chapter 22, section number 2, the Enlightenment in Europe. This is taught by the terms and names. Enlightenment is the age of reason. Social contract is according to Thomas Hobbes, an agreement people make with government. Jean-Luc, philosopher who wrote about government. Philosophers is social critics in France. It is the French definition of philosophers in English. Voltaire is a writer who fought for tolerance, reason, freedom of religious beliefs, and the freedom of speech. Montesquieu is a French writer concerned with governmental and political liberty. Rousseau, or Jean-Jacques Rousseau, is an Enlightenment thinker who championed freedom. Mary Wollstonecraft is the author who wrote about women's rights. Okay, so two views on government. What were the views of Hobbes and Locke? The Enlightenment was an intellectual movement. Enlightenment thinkers tried to apply reason and the scientific method to laws that shape the human actions. They hoped to build a society founded on ideas of the scientific revolution. Two English writers, Thomas Hobbes and Jean-Luc, were important to this movement. They came to very different conclusions about government and human nature. Hobbes wrote that there would be a war of every man against every man if there were no government. To avoid this, so the first claim of Thomas Hobbes is that Hobbes said that people formed a social contract. Again, don't get confused between the social contract of Thomas Hobbes and the social contract of Jean-Jacques Rousseau. It's going to be discussed later. It was an agreement between people and their government. People gave up their rights to the government so they could live in a safe and orderly way. This is the viewpoint of Thomas Hobbes, that all people must give up their rights to that strong government so this government could save and also could maintain law and order, and people could live in a safe and orderly way. The best government, he said, is that of a strong king who can force people to obey. So he was encouraging absolutism and monarchy. He was supporting monarchy or absolute monarchy. Jean-Luc, on the other hand, believed that people have three natural rights. They are life, liberty, and property. The purpose of government is to protect these rights. When it fails to do so, he said, people have a right to overthrow the government. So the highlighted part here is the answer for this question, how were Hobbes and Locke's views different? Okay. Okay. Here, who were the philosophers? French thinkers called the philosophers had 5 main beliefs. Okay, so these 5 main beliefs are reason and what is natural in a good reasonable. Second one was natural laws. Second one was happiness. And fourth one is that make progress and advance. And using can gain freedom. These are the 5 main reasons why philosophers and also the beliefs of the philosophers at the time of the Enlightenment. Reason, natural laws, happiness, progress and advance, and freedom. If you have this question in the exam, what were the main beliefs of the philosophers of the Enlightenment? Don't write more than these 5 words. Reason, natural laws, happiness, progress and advance, and freedom. The first one was Voltaire. He fought for tolerance, reason, freedom of religious beliefs. It's also extremely important question. Okay, here is, name the types of freedom that Enlightenment thinkers championed, or they spoke about or favored. The first one was here, Voltaire. You have to write the name of the philosophers and his claim or his what he had championed. First one was Voltaire. He fought for tolerance, reason, freedom of religious beliefs, and the freedom of speech. He was the one who said that I may be not accepting what you said, but I would defend to that to your right to say it. He was one of the supporters of the freedom of speech. Montesquieu wrote about separation of powers, dividing the powers among the separate branches of government, which became the base of balances and the checks, which became the base of the United States Constitution after that. The third great philosopher was Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He wrote in favor of human freedom. He wanted a society in which all people were equal. The first one was Beccaria, or Cesare Beccaria, was an Italian philosopher. He spoke out against the abuses of justice. Okay, so let's move. What were the Enlightenment views about the individuals? Many Enlightenment thinkers held the traditional views about women's place in society. They wanted equal rights for all men, but paid no attention to the fact that women didn't have such rights. Some women protested their unfair situation. If all men are born free, stated British writer Mary Wollstonecraft, how is that all women are born slaves? Enlightenment ideas strongly influenced the American and the French revolutions. Enlightenment thinkers also helped spread the idea of progress by using reason. They said it's possible to make society better. Enlightenment thinkers helped make the world less religious and more worldly. They also stressed the importance of the individuals. Okay, so what was the influence of the Enlightenment ideas? Is that strongly influenced the American and the French Revolution, and also had spread the idea of progress by using reason. This is the answer for question number 3. Okay, so I will share another screen. Start sharing another screen. Here it is, yes, this one. I already shared this file and sent this file to your Jupyter. Okay, it summarizes everything about the online sessions that we had finished last week about that second section in chapter 22 on the Enlightenment. Every single detail is already summarized here. Okay, and the extremely important question here is that the difference between Hobbes' social contract and between Jean-Jacques Rousseau's social contract, for example. Hobbes' social contract was an agreement between society and its government. For Jean-Jacques Rousseau, it was an agreement among the free individual to create society and a government, which is considered a direct democracy. Jean-Jacques Rousseau called for direct democracy. Okay, so you have to distinguish between the claim of Thomas Hobbes and John Locke, and between the social contract between Thomas Hobbes and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Okay, we have 10 minutes to finish, so let's summarize in another screen, in another sharing screen. Here also this question is already done and already sent to you, and most of you sent the answers to me. So now, new way of thinking, scientific revolution spurs a reassessment of many prevailing ideas. Europeans seek insights into society during the 16th and 1700s, leads to the Enlightenment, a movement stressing reason and thought. Hobbes' social contract, Hobbes distrusts humans, favors strong government to keep order, promotes social contract, getting order by giving power to monarch. Locke's natural rights, philosopher John Locke says government gets the power from the people, stresses that people have a right to overthrow an unjust government. Belief of the philosophers. The philosophers are French social critics in the mid-1700s. Value reason, nature, happiness, progress, and liberty. Voltaire combats influence. Voltaire, influential philosopher, pen name of Francois Marie Orwell, publishes many works arguing for tolerance and reason, makes powerful enemies and is imprisoned twice for his views. Montesquieu and separation of powers. Montesquieu, French writer who admires the Britain government system, favors separation of powers to keep one body from running government. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, champion of freedom, philosopher who favored individual freedom or direct democracy, views social contract as an agreement by free people to form government. Beccaria promotes criminal justice. Italian philosopher Cesare Beccaria works to reform the justice system, calls for speedy trials, greater rights for criminal defenders. Women's education and change. Many Enlightenment thinkers take traditional views of women's role. Prominent writer Mary Wollstonecraft urges greater rights for women, argues women need quality education to be virtuous and useful, urges women to go to traditionally male professions like politics. Some wealthy women use their status to spread Enlightenment ideas. Okay, the legacy of the Enlightenment is that the rule of philosophers are not activists, but inspire major revolutions like the American and the French Revolution. They believed in progress and all scientific breakthrough show human capacity to improve society. A more secular outlook, now knowledge of the world leads people to question religious ideas. Voltaire and others criticizes beliefs and practices of that Christianity. Okay? Here, the important individuals, people place more emphasis on individual rights and abilities. Reason becomes a central concept of philosophers and rulers. Rule of philosophers. Philosophers are not, sorry, I put it again. Okay. So now, by now, and also so far, we have finished the 5 lessons and that are going to be included. So before ending the meeting, do you have any questions in this section? Any questions, guys? I think you get exhausted today because we have finished the 3 sections, but we have to have sufficient time for any review over the English board or the English quiz, English exam. Sorry. Any questions for the boys? Abdurrahman, Omar, Salah, any questions? Okay. So thank you. I have to end the meeting now, and also the recording will be uploaded for any extra review on the YouTube channel. Again, if you have any questions, send it to me directly to the Jupyter account, and also I will answer and respond to all of your inquiries and the questions 1 hour later maximum after you send it to me. Thank you again for your, thank you, and see you. Get ready for the exam, please. Thank you.